How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today I'm going to be reviewing John Wick. This is the 2014 action movie directed by Chad Stahelski. This was his first film that he directed and stars Keanu Reeves as John Wick, a former hitman who recently lost his wife. He's grieving her death, and one of the last gifts that he gets from her is this beagle named Daisy to help him cope with the loss of his wife. But when some arrogant Punk, who's the son of someone that John Wick once worked for, breaks into John Wick's house, takes his car, and kills this puppy. John Wick gets back into the game and goes on a revenge quest to make this person pay. Now, this is the first movie in the John Wick franchise. This franchise gave us four sequels, including an upcoming spin-off movie called From the World of John Wick Ballerina. That's the reason why I'm going to be reviewing the other John Wick movies as well. I reviewed John Wick Chapter 4 when it came out in 2023. I'll put the link down below if you want to hear my thoughts on that movie. And this movie and the upcoming movie is going to be taking place between John Wick Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. So this is actually the perfect time to review the first three John Wick movies right before this upcoming spinoff comes out. Now, this movie came out in 2014. I didn't see John Wick at the time. In fact, I can't remember if there was even marketing for John Wick at the time. This came out in October 2014. And one of the interesting things that I learned about this movie was that a couple months before this movie actually came out, there was no studio to distribute it at the time. No one was interested in buying it, and it was close to becoming a direct to DVD movie. I mean, how crazy is that? A Keanu Reeves action movie that also has John Leguizamo, Ian McShane, Willem Dafoe, Lance Reddick in it almost went to DOV. That's crazy. That's usually where the forgotten movies usually go. I'm not saying every movie that goes right to DVD is bad, but usually a lot of live action ones tend to be bad. But luckily, Lionsgate bid for this movie. They got the distribution rights, and it was released in theaters, and it became a hit with critics and the box office, and it's given us this great franchise, and a franchise that's given us four great action movies, all from the same director, that feels like it improves upon the previous one, is terrific. And John Wick, this movie, does a lot of great things in less than 2 hours. The other sequels are a lot longer, but this movie is around an hour and 40 something minutes. But this movie establishes a lot. You learn about John Wick, and even before you see John Wick in action, when you're hearing people talk about this man, calling him the Baba Yaba, saying how ruthless he was, how all the bodies he killed in a day built a foundation. There's just a lot of stuff that you hear about that's such great buildup to when you eventually see John Wick in action. When you see John Wick in action, he doesn't disappoint. At the time this movie came out, the nightclub fight sequence in this movie was probably one of, if not the best nightclub action sequence in a movie. And yeah, we've had plenty of other nightclub fighting action sequences in the next three John Wick movies. We're probably bound to get at least one in the upcoming Ballerina movie. But even still, this is still one of the best sequences in any action movie, whether it's the shooting action sequences or the hand-to-hand combat action sequences. It's just done so well. And Keanu Reeves, this is probably his best role. And as someone who also loves The Matrix, who also loved him in Point Break, who loves his younger, more comedic roles like in Bill and Ted, this is probably Keanu's best performance. The raw emotion that he shows in a lot of these action sequences, particularly in the beginning when he's grieving his wife and when he's enraged over the loss of this new puppy he got. He really does such a great job. And this was the role that revitalized his career because, not to say that he wasn't in anything for years, but after the Matrix sequels and Constantine, it kind of felt like he was in stuff, but it wasn't household name stuff. So it was kind of like you kind of weren't really paying attention. He wasn't really interesting, a whole lot interesting. I know he was in, I think, the Day the Earth Stood Still 2008 remake, but that wasn't well received, and I don't think it did well in the box office. But yeah, this was the role that revitalized Keanu Reeves. And the thing about Keanu Reeves is he's one of the most well liked actors in the industry. I can't find anyone who can say a bad thing about Keanu. Maybe there's a few people that maybe not care about him, but for the most part, he seemed like one of the most well liked actors in the industry, not just based on his performances, but just how he seems as a human being. I mean, you also got other household actors in this movie. You got Willem Dafoe in this movie. He plays Marcus. He's an old friend of John Wick's. Which you got Ian McShane in this movie as Winston. You got Lance Reddick as the concierge of the hotel that John Wick is staying in. And I love the little world building that this movie is doing as well, because mainly this is a revenge story, but you're also learning about this world that John Wick is in. You're learning about some of the people that he's friends with, that he may have had a history with as well. You learn that the Continental has its own rules, and if you break those rules, you can get executed. And as well, there's a scene towards the end where Winston, a couple of his guys, confronts someone who broke the rules, and she just got shot. Like that was basically the end of her. And yeah, the plot of this movie, if you just heard the plot of this movie without seeing it, a guy goes on a revenge quest to avenge the death of his puppy. You would think, oh, this can never get pulled off, but it's pulled off very well. And the soundtrack also as well feels incredible. It feels epic and just really captures the vibe of this movie. And there's a lot of action sequences, things that happen in this movie that you're like, is this normal for this world? Because with the exception of a few times, it kind of just feels like people aren't reacting the way you would think. And this is actually taken up a notch in the sequels where action sequences are happening and people are just dancing around them in the nightclubs. This is one of the few times where I feel like there's a genuine, realistic reaction from people where they're fleeing the nightclub in terror. It's just done so well. But yeah, John Wick. I mean, if there's one thing that I'm not too big on with this first movie, is it feels like the ending was rushed. It kind of felt like they didn't exactly know how to end the movie. Spoiler, I mean, I spoiled other stuff about this movie, but this movie's been out for over a decade. But John Wick, he gets his revenge. He kills everyone that he wants to, and he's wounded. And you think he's dying. Actually, kind of shows at the beginning of the movie. The and then you see the events that lead up to that moment. But he's hearing a message from his deceased wife of coming home, and he goes into this animal shelter and he sees and he's taking care of his wound, and he also takes home a dog that's about to get put down, and he takes the dog home with him. I mean, it's a nice ending. He gets a new puppy. He also saves a puppy from getting put down, but it kind of feels like after everything that happened there maybe could have been more to it. I don't know, it's just the ending. I don't think it was bad. I just felt like it was not what you would have expected, considering all the stuff that had just happened building up to this moment. But overall, with this first John Wick movie, I don't think at the time they thought this was going to be a franchise. But even if you just see it as a standalone, if you've never seen John Wick Chapter 2, 3, and 4, this as a standalone action movie is great on its own, whether you see it as the first movie in a series or just a standalone and never watch any of the sequels. It's just fantastic. Keanu Reeves does an excellent job. I think the acting from everyone overall is great. I love Ian McShane. This is probably the smallest role he has in these movies, because in the other movies he plays a much bigger role. I love Willem Dafoe in this movie. Even John Leguizamo, who, it's not that I hate John Leguizamo, but I don't think he's that great of an actor. No offense. I even thought he was pretty good in this movie as well. You're rooting for John Wick in this movie, and when you hear the stories told about him, you're like, yeah, these guys are screwed. They're in trouble. The action sequences, there's not one dull action sequence in this movie, with the exception of the ending. I would say the whole movie is just done and paced so well. It's hard to believe that this movie created this big franchise and the small world building that it does, from learn about the Continental, the rules you have to follow in the Continental, to the coin system, um, some of the characters that are involved in it. I think it's nice world building. It doesn't take away from the main story of John Wick getting his revenge. But yeah, this first John Wick movie I think is an excellent movie, and I'm gonna give this an A minus. I think this is a great start to a franchise, and as I said, even if you just see this as a standalone movie, if we never got a sequel to it, I think it's a great standalone. But I'm glad we got 3 sequels that expanded on this universe, that showed us more about the Continental and the world that he's in and other connections that John Wick has. But yeah, I'm gonna give John Wick an A minus. And what are your thoughts on John Wick? Did you love it? Did you hate it? And what's one of your favorite Keanu Reeves action movies? For me, I'm probably gonna go with, even though I would say The Matrix is the best movie he was in, I would probably say Point Break is my personal favorite. The movie with Patrick Stewart, not Patrick Stewart, Patrick Swayze, where Patrick Swayze and his gang of surfers are putting on president masks and robbing banks, and Keanu Reeves as John Utah has to infiltrate them. That's probably my favorite Keanu movie, but I know for some people it'll be John Wick. But let me know what your favorite Keanu Reeves movie is. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe wherever you haven't. Please share this with someone who loves John Wick, who loves Keanu Reeves movies. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.